Hi everybody, this is Max, and I posted something this morning telling you guys how much I love to clean ears, and I really do. I can't even believe I'm this. I do. I ask the girls anytime there's like a dirty ears coming in, I'm like, give them to me. So I thought I would go ahead and do a live feed for you. This is Max, and but before I get started, and probably the whole time that I'm talking and telling you guys what I'm doing, I'm going to be talking to you about other things like why you shouldn't have to clean your dog's ears. I'm a huge believer that if we start our dogs out when they're puppies on the right diet and we don't over vaccinate them and over medicate them and do all of the stuff that we've done, you'll never get to the point where you have to clean your dog's ears. You shouldn't ever have to do that. My dog is 9 years old and I never clean his ears. I can't stress that enough that that's the goal, especially if you have a dog who's already in Max's situation. It can take a very long time for us to get back to that. So it can be really difficult. So hi you guys, I hope this is going to help you guys kind of understand a little bit about ear cleaning, and the ultimate goal is to never ever put anything in your dog's ears. You shouldn't have to put solution in there once a week. You shouldn't have to stick a Q-tip in there. You shouldn't have to do anything to your dog's ears. But because of, in my opinion, conventional medications and poor diets and the lack of information out there to veterinarians about good diets, we end up with dogs in situations like poor little Max. And Max's mom has done fabulous, and if I didn't think this would take 12 hours, I would show you guys. I have another dog here named Bentley, and they both started about the same time. Unfortunately, Bentley is a little bit further along than Max is, but what I want you guys to know, if you learn anything from this video at all, is ear infections are not caused by the ear, they're caused by the gut. So even though I'm going to show you guys how we clean ears and how excited I am to do it and this technique that I use to do it, I want you to know that if we don't restore the gut to health, this will be something that you do every single day, and your dog will smell forever and be itchy, and more importantly, in a lot of pain. So the goal really is for us to restore the gut when we're dealing with ears, but in the meantime, we need to alleviate some discomfort for our animals. So I'm not against making sure that our animals are in discomfort, or we can try to alleviate some of that. And in the meantime, what we're going to do is doing some cleaning of the ears. So one thing that the video would be so long is the first thing I did for Max when he got here is this is CBD oil, and what I did is I took it and I put the CBD oil all around the edges and the rims of his ears, and then I took my finger and kind of went inside his ear a little bit, just places where I can see. What that does is a couple of things. One is CBD has been known, and I've watched it work even on myself, to help alleviate some inflammation. So it's really greasy and oily, but it also there's been some a lot of research out there about helping with candida, which is generally when a dog has a ear infection. It's caused by a couple of things: a yeast infection, a bacterial infection, or both. Sometimes veterinarians will run cultures, and in those cultures they'll find both yeast and bacteria, which is interesting. Like, how can you have both? Well, what it is when yeast takes over, it kills off some of the good bacteria that grows in the ear, and then it allows bad bacteria to come and yeast to flourish. But again, that's because that's what's going on in the gut. So you have to look at diet as being your cause, not just diet, but over vaccines that can cause allergies, which can cause flare-ups in the ears. So that's a whole different topic, but I can't leave you thinking that, oh, if you just do Carrie's solution with the CBD oil and all the other stuff I'm going to show you, voila, your dog's ears are fine. I'm just trying to cut down on some of the smell and the problems and all that kind of stuff. So Max looks like likes being on camera. Max, Sonia's watching you. Yeah, he's a good ear cleaner. So is Bentley, but Bentley's further along, so his ears weren't as dirty, so I didn't think you guys would be able to see too much. So, but I still am doing this kind of treatment. But both parents have been so compliant in making sure and knowing how long it takes to get rid of ear infections, chronic ear infections. And when we treat them with just antibiotic and band-aiding everything, then you just end up with ear infections for your dog's rest of your life. But anyway, so the first thing I do is I take a really good CBD oil. You can use a CBD oil if you want that you like. I like Earth Buddy. This is not a plug for Earth Buddy. I just like it. I like the guy who created it. I've seen wonderful results myself. But it's just one that I really like. And I just take a couple of drops, like I said, and I let it sit for like 35, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour. And I'll just rub it all in the ear where I can see. So I drop it on the outside here, and then I'll slowly work it in and just kind of rub it in the ear. Max is like, oh, it feels so good. I know, doesn't it, Max? So one of the things that I like to tell people is if your dog doesn't have dirty ears and all of that kind of stuff, then you don't want to mess with the ears. But sometimes you can take, I know a lot of vets will tell you don't use a Q-tip, and I understand why. It's for fear that someone will go too deep into the ear. But I promise you, if you can see where that Q-tip is going, and you can take your dog's ear and you can, because there's little cracks in there, and you can wipe that around a little bit in there, so long as you're not jabbing it in there. The ear canal on a dog is kind of like a little L-shaped. And so if this is the part I can see, the ear canal is down here, and it's kind of not all the way underneath the eye. It's kind of sits back here because the way that their ear canal goes. Ours is a little bit straighter than a dog's. So, and which is one of the reasons why I don't want you to keep putting solution down in your dog's ears, because it sits right in here. And that's why your dog shakes, because he can feel it in his ears. And so we don't want to keep putting solution in there unless we have a dog who already has chronic ear infections and you're trying to pull out all that smelly, yeasty, gross yeast or bacteria and that kind of thing. And in order to know whether you have yeast or bacteria or both, you do have to run a culture, but I will tell you, yeast has a very, very distinct smell to it. So it's almost, you can't really miss it. It smells so bad. And if you've ever had a dog who's had yeasty ears, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I do, once I get that CBD oil sitting there for, 20, 30, it doesn't matter. It sat there, if you forgot about it and it sat there for an hour, that would be fine too. But look at all this. Can you guys see it? Do you guys know who Pimple Popper, what is her name? Dr. Pimple Popper. I know this sounds so gross, but it's so gross to me. I can't even watch it. I know people that watch it. And it's so gross to me, but then I remember how excited I get about doing these ears. And sometimes I wear a glove. So you definitely can wear a glove if you want when you're really getting in there. But this glove will let you guys show. Like, I get so excited about how much stuff, I don't know if you can see that on my hand, starts coming off their ears. And I love it, because I'm like, it's got to feel good to get all that gunk and stuff. And the CBD oil really helps to do that. It loosens it up really good. It helps with inflammation. Now, keep in mind when you're cleaning your dog's ears, make sure that they're secure also, you guys, because sometimes they don't like it. Max happens to be really good at it. I think he secretly likes it. He seems to get really excited. But as you're, cleaning all of that stuff off of there, sometimes their ear will turn a little bit redder, and it's only because I'm really messing with his ear. So don't worry. If it gets really, really red, then and it doesn't go away when you're done messing with it, then sometimes we have a different issue. Like maybe you can have an allergy, because believe it or not, you can have an allergy to CBD oil. And so we got to be careful of that. But I haven't ever seen it, but it can happen. So anyway, so once you get that CBD oil and you're just kind of rubbing it in there, the next step I like to do is I'll take a little bit of water. I know all of your vets have told you not to get water in your dog's ears. I get it. And I agree, but this dog already has an ear infection. So we're already dealing with ears that are completely, red and goopy. Now, I'm not going to take this water and shove it down his ear. I'm actually going to take my thumb and just kind of get the outer side, so a little tiny bit of water. You can also put a little in there if you have like a little container, but this is just, I do this all day long cleaning ears, so this is just my way of doing it. But don't pour the water down in his ears, but I got to get it wet and start rinsing. You can see my thumb is over his ear canal. I know a little bit of water is going to get in there, and I'm going to dry these ears out like nobody's business when I'm done. But in the meantime, I'm going to rinse a little bit there. Good boy, Max. And now we're all going to get wet. Okay, so then my next step is actually my own little concoction. And all this is a mixture of coconut oil as my carrier oil and peppermint oil. And I pick those for a very, very, very good reason. Both kill candida. So and you want to make sure you're using a really good coconut oil carrier and then a really good peppermint. Don't just buy your cheapest peppermint. I like Young Living. It's not a plug for them. I just happen to like them. doTERRA is fine. You can use whatever whatever you want. Get a good coconut oil. This is from doTERRA that I use. It's a coconut oil that I like to use because it's fractionated and it's very liquidy. And then I just get probably put about 6 drops of peppermint in there, just enough so I can smell it, so I know it's in there. So, because peppermint can be really harsh, so you don't want to put a lot of peppermint in there. But I like to use those 2 things because, like I said, they kill the yeast. And ultimately, he's on a new diet, and we're doing a lot of stuff, and his mom's doing a lot of stuff to get rid of the yeast that's growing in his body. Oh, good. I hope I can help you guys. And if you have questions, I'll try to read them in between and try to help you guys. So his mom's doing a lot of stuff there, but we're trying to alleviate some of his pain. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mixture of peppermint and coconut oil, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before, where I'm just going to get it in there and kind of start rubbing it around. I'm going to use my finger. You don't have to if it grosses you out. It doesn't gross me out. You can use like a cotton ball or something, but I like to use my finger. Oh, does that feel so good? Oh my God, that's gonna get replayed and I'm gonna look like the biggest idiot, but whatever. Oh my God, he loves it. See, he's like, oh, thank you. It feels so good. I know, handsome, and that feels so good. Yeah, good boy. When his mom drops him off, he runs into the door, and he comes running in here. And that would not be happening if this was hurting him or burning him or anything. Hey, Vanessa, how are you? Okay, so again, I'm going to take that coconut oil, the same thing, the other ear. It's mixed with a tiny bit of peppermint, and I'm just getting in there with my fingers. Again, you can use a Q-tip. One thing you never want to do, don't jam your Q-tip in there. I told you, you have to be able to see where the tip is going. See all of that? But there's little tiny cracks. So if you don't get all those little tiny cracks, then you're not really going to be getting the ears too clean. You can see all that stuff I pulled out. But one thing you never want to do is use the Q-tip on both ears. Don't assume just because one ear has yeast that the other ear does, or maybe one ear has a little bit of yeast and a little bit of bacteria and the other ear doesn't, and you don't want to be transferring yeasts and bacteria because there's so many different cultures, not cultures, but cultures that could be in these ears, and we don't want to be transferring. So just use one Q-tip, and it can get on your hands. That's why I don't want you to even use the other Q-tip on your other ear. But you want to make sure you can get all of those cracks. I don't know if you guys can really see. Just know that every time I stick this Q-tip in here, I can see the whole Q-tip. Do not stick down in there. You can rupture an eardrum, but again, it's pretty far. But I can't stress enough how careful, especially for you guys, because you haven't been doing it. Just a good rule of thumb is make sure you can see that tip. Wherever you're rubbing that Q-tip, that you can see where that tip is going. And now what I'm doing is I'm pulling out I love it. This is so weird. If this thing goes viral, I'm going to be so embarrassed. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care. I just get excited. It's so, look at, see all of that pull. Can you guys see that? That's all the stuff inside this little guy's ear. And believe it or not, he's so much better than he was. 6 months ago, I would be here forever, just pulling it out, and it was coming out in droves. It was so sad and so scary for him. So, and then I'm rubbing in that coconut oil and that peppermint oil. It's mixed together. And I told you guys earlier, the reason I use those 2 things is because coconut oil and peppermint oil are also known to kill yeast, which is what he's fighting. So then I'm going to let that sit for a while. You guys are going to get the fun of watching me bathe him completely, because I have to give him a bath. While that's sitting, I'm going to bathe him. I'm going to give him a very mild bath with something that has no sulfates in it. and something very mild because his whole body is a little yeasty. He has it under his arms. That's where yeast likes to live, under the arms, between the toes. That's why your dogs lick their toes and lick their toes and go crazy, and they're biting and chewing and stuff the whole time. Normally I use something called a HydroSurge, which is this machine, but I don't want it to be so loud while I'm talking to you guys, so I'm going to do this by hand, which is a little different than I normally do. But I'm going to, while that's sitting, this is what I'm going to do is wash him in a very mild shampoo that hopefully will help him a little bit, not make him any more itchy, no sulfates in it. But what I'm mostly excited about is to show you guys, hi Courtney, show you guys, Courtney also is a spa person, what I do after, which is amazing, and it's something I highly recommend that you guys get for both bathing your dog as well as using it for, thanks Max, using it for infections like yeast infections and skin problems and all that. This is a tearless shampoo that I'm using, you guys, so I don't have to worry so much about them moving around like Max is doing right now. He hates his face wash. That's the one thing Max hates. He'll let me clean his ears but not his face. Isn't that funny? Like, go ahead and clean. It's just like sometimes we have dogs who will let us do everything, even pluck their ear hair, but they won't let us blow dry them or something. It's so funny. Max. Okay. So maybe I won't have you guys, I just wanted that peppermint and oatmeal, or peppermint and olive oil, I'm so sorry, peppermint and coconut oil to sit there for a minute. I think I'll give Max a bath after I finish showing you guys. So that's what I would do for timing wise. That's about how long I would leave the coconut and the peppermint in his ears while I do a bath on him. But, I know honey, you don't like this part. So now what I'm going to do is rinse. I know, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and rinse out his ears. I know we're not supposed to get water in their ears, but I got to get all that stuff out of his ears. So I'm lightly going to rinse his ears. I'm not sticking a big tube down there and doing all of that. I'm just lightly rinsing it. And here comes the creme de la creme of what I do. Okay, so this. Now this is a very, very high recommendation for you guys. This is called Nutritionist shampoo. We call it N shampoo because it's hard to pronounce. It's actually German, but it's made in Japan. And I'm sorry this sounds like I'm doing commercials, but I just want you guys to see this amazing stuff and why I use it for ear cleaning. So this shampoo has, it's not even like, it doesn't suds up like a shampoo does, because what it has in it is enzymes. It has bacteria in it. It has stuff like amylase and things that are created by our bodies to break down carbohydrates and sugars and all of that kind of stuff. They use just seawater, which I know sounds crazy, but there's all sorts of good bacteria in it. So the problem with skin and ear infections and stuff is that the bacteria are ruined. So we've wiped it out with antibiotics and medicated shampoos, and we've done all of this stuff to the body, and then in the meantime, just like an antibiotic, it kills the bacteria that lives in the ear, which is why I don't want you to clean your dog's ears unless they already have an ear infection. Don't try to prevent an ear infection by cleaning their ears all the time. Sometimes people take their dogs to puppies to the vet, and the vet automatically tells them, get yourself on an ear cleaning regimen. Oh my God, no, please don't do that. So this is what I'm going to use to now get all of the coconut oil and the peppermint out of his ears. So I'm going to take this. It is a shampoo, and you can use it all over their body, but because it's got all of those bacteria and stuff that I like, I'm going to use it as my next last thing that I'm going to put in there and squish around and clean his ears. So I put the peppermint in there, I put the CBD in there, but remember, CBD oil and coconut oil are really greasy, so nobody wants a greasy dog. You guys don't have to do step 3, but if I'm going to ever have anybody come back here for grooming, they're not going to want to come back here if I give them a greasy dog. So I'm going to use this N shampoo, or Nutritionist is how you pronounce it. It's very expensive. It doesn't suds up, which is the problem, because a lot of times people want that, and I'm guilty of that too, right? It's not cleaning if it's not sudsing, but the thing is, it really is. It's cleaning, it's getting everything, it's leaving behind residual bacterias that we want. And I just love it. It's so amazing. I've seen it work for like skin problems and all sorts of stuff. So, and that, guys, is how I do ear cleaning. But I'm gonna show you guys what is so important that because you guys there, sorry, somebody tried to call and then that does it. So, okay, so once I do all of this and I use all of that to clean up and I don't feel any more grease in there and I get all that going, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse him again. So I'm going to rinse all that shampoo off. Oh my gosh, his ears are so clean right now. And yes, I'm probably going to get some water in his ears. But again, trust me, a little water in the ears when you already have an ear infection isn't going to do anything any better. But you don't want to get water in the ears if you shouldn't be touching your dog's ears if they don't have infections. Just remember that. Okay, so Max is going to have to get a real bath, but for the purpose of this video, the next thing I would do is get my towel, dry his face really well, which I'm not going to necessarily do. Then I'm going to take a dry Q-tip. This is important, guys. Dry Q-tip. Okay? And I'm going to dry out his ears. Okay? I'm going to take probably 4 Q-tips to make sure that when I pull those Q-tips out, look how clean it is. Look at that. I don't know if you guys could tell before how gross and disgusting and everything that was coming out of there. And now it's nice and clean. Remember, just because I cleaned his ears doesn't mean you can transfer your Q-tips. So you're going to want to just make sure that when you pull that Q-tip out, and don't put the Q-tip in too far. Only where you can see it. Only where you can see it. But you got to get in these little cracks. That Q-tip should be coming out dry. Okay? And once that Q-tip is nice and dry, then we've got a nice dry ear. That's it. I recommend, if your dog is having ear issues like this, to do this probably every 3 to 4 days. Once a week you can do, but again, I can't stress enough, guys, ear infections are not caused because your dog has an ear infection. It's caused because your dog's gut. If you don't believe me, you can listen to some of our podcasts. You can talk to some good vets that I know that understand ear infections and don't just band-aid them so that you end up spending thousands of dollars, because that's what will happen. I don't know if there's anybody on here. I think I saw Miriam on here. She's been fighting ear infections forever. If you don't start these puppies off, guys, if you've got a young dog, I don't care either. Floppy dog ears, if I hear that argument one more time from a veterinarian, I'm going to scream. It doesn't matter whether your dog has ears that stand, floppy dog ears. One of the worst ear infections I ever saw was on a German Shepherd, and his ears stuck straight up, and it was the worst yeast infection I ever saw. So it's not about what breed you have. Don't let anybody make you believe all that kind of BS. Did you just do regular shampoo? No, I used, for his ears, I used this. So I'll put, this is going to be posted, so it might help if you guys rewash it, but I'm using a bacteria shampoo, which sounds weird. It's not an antibacterial, it's good bacteria that I'm placing back in this ear, and then we're keeping it super dry. So I'm waiting for this Q-tip to come out dry, and then once I have all that done, then we're all done. Do it maybe once a week at best. If you can do it twice a week, that's awesome too. But don't diagnose your own dog. If you don't know if your dog has an ear infection, you're going to have to find out first. You can usually smell it, but you want to talk to a vet. Remember always, guys, I know I've said it like 12 times. If you're not changing the dog's diet, if you're not going to stop over-vaccinating, if you're not going to stop over-medicating, giving flea medications, heartworm medications, all of the stuff that destroys the gut, this will never get under control. Never, ever, ever, ever. It'll get temporarily under control. You'll go to the vet, they'll give you an antibiotic, it'll suppress it. You'll think he's a miracle worker and that your $500 is worth every penny. And that's just what's going to be on and on and on and on and on. So from the very beginning, feed your dog healthy, no starch, no rice, no potatoes, no junk food. And then make sure that you're not over-vaccinating, over-medicating, because it destroys the gut and causes some problems. So, okay, guys, I'm going to let you go because this guy wants to get finished, and I got to get him out. Max, say goodbye. Bye, guys. I hope that helps you. Take care, everybody. See you soon.